Hey everyone, and welcome. I am so glad you're here for Lesson 3 of our Lead with Grounded Confidence course, a fantastic program from the bVentured.com Academy. Today, we're jumping into something that's, well, absolutely essential for any leader right now, adapting your style for a world that just won't stop changing.
You know, in today's professional world, if you're standing still, you're basically falling behind. The ability to adapt how you lead isn't just a nice-to-have skill anymore, it's pretty much critical for success. But how do you actually do it? How do you become that leader who can pivot and flex? Well, that's exactly what this lesson is all about. So let's get into it.
So, here's the plan. We'll start by looking at your leadership toolkit, the different styles you have at your disposal. Then we'll dig into the shifting landscape that makes adaptation so important. After that, we get practical with the art of adaptation itself. And finally, we'll set you up for what comes next in your learning journey.
All right, first things first. Before you can adapt, you've got to know what tools you're working with, right? So think of these 4 styles as the core of your leadership toolkit. Understanding what each one is for is really the first step to using them well.
First up, we've got the Autocratic style. This is that classic top-down approach. The leader has the authority, the leader makes the calls, period. Think of a fire chief at the scene of a fire. They need to give clear, decisive commands without taking a vote. It's all about command and control. And this really shows you the trade-off. In that fire, or in a real business crisis, this style is a lifesaver. You need one person making a fast, clear decision, no question. But try using that same top-down approach when you're trying to brainstorm a new product. It's just going to shut down all that creative energy you need. It's the wrong tool for that job.
Next up, we have pretty much the exact opposite, democratic leadership. This style is all about participation. It totally flips that autocratic model on its head. Here, the leader is actively looking for input, and decisions are a team sport. The whole focus shifts from I decide to we decide.
And just like the autocratic style, this one has its clear pros and cons. When you bring your team into the decision, they feel a real sense of ownership, and that is a huge motivator. But if the company website just crashed, you probably don't have time to form a committee to debate the solution. Sometimes you just need speed.
Okay, our third style is transformational. This is your visionary leader, the inspirer. This isn't so much about managing the day-to-day tasks, it's about painting this really compelling picture of the future and getting everyone fired up to build something incredible together.
And our final tool is transactional leadership. So if transformational is about inspiring that big vision, transactional is all about executing it with precision. It runs on a super clear system. You do this task, you get this reward. It's all about structure, efficiency, and hitting those well-defined goals.
So, when you lay it all out like this, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Each style has its moment to shine. There is no single best style. The truly great leaders don't just pick one and stick with it. No way. They know exactly which tool to pull from their toolkit and exactly when to use it.
So we've got our toolkit. Now let's talk about why it's more important than ever to be able to switch between these styles. Because the reality is, the world of work is in constant motion. The ground is always shifting right under our feet.
Just take a second and think about that. What's changed in your own job, your own workplace, in just the last few years? I mean, the pace of change feels like it's speeding up, and it's being driven by some really powerful forces.
Okay, here are 4 of the big ones. We've got technological innovations like AI just completely changing how we work. Then there's our workforce, which is more diverse than ever, and that requires a new level of awareness. Remote and hybrid work have totally rewritten the rules for team dynamics, and of course, the broader socio-political climate affects our businesses and our people. A rigid one-size-fits-all leadership style just can't handle all this.
All right, so we've covered the what and the why. Now we get to the really good part, the how. How do you actually put this into practice? How do you become that adaptive leader in the moment? This is where leadership really goes from being a science to being an art.
Okay, this is absolutely the most important thing to remember. Effective leadership isn't about finding your one favorite style and sticking to it. It's about being a chameleon. It's about reading the situation and using the approach that best fits the context, your team, and what you're trying to achieve.
So how do you do that? Well, think of it like this. First, you have to assess the situation. Is this a 5-alarm fire or a calm brainstorming session? Second, you have to understand your team. Are they seasoned pros or total beginners? Third, you align with your goals. Are we trying to innovate or just execute a plan? And finally, you have to meet stakeholder expectations. And to do all of that well, you need to work on these core skills.
This is the secret sauce that lets you use all those tools in your toolkit. Emotional intelligence helps you read the room, right? Flexibility is the mindset that lets you change course. And great communication, well, that's the delivery mechanism that makes it all work.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground today. We've gone from the 4 core leadership styles all the way to a practical framework for using them. Let's pull it all together with one final key thought and talk about where you can go from here.
This right here, this is the heart of it all. Change and transition aren't the exception anymore. They're the new normal. And you know, when I think about the best leaders I've ever known, their real value wasn't in keeping things stable. It was in guiding their people through the chaos with confidence. That is the true power of being a flexible leader.
And hey, if you're ready to keep this momentum going, you are definitely going to want to check out Lesson 4. Now that you have this framework for adapting your style, we're going to dive into building the personal resilience you need to lead through anything. It's the absolute perfect next step on this journey.
And listen, to make sure all of this really sticks, be sure to check out the extra materials we've put together. We've got quizzes, detailed notes, and a really cool infographic for this lesson all waiting for you. You can find a link to everything in the description and over at bVentured.com. Thanks so much for joining me.